Okay. Okay. Good morning. Then hey, with Bays. The Mishnah had said about a sotah that if she became a sotah and she didn't yet drink from the Maimama, she didn't prove her innocence. The Mishnah said that if the husband died, so then and there's a brother, and there's a din of yibum, but since she's a sotah, so there's no yibum. There is chalitza, but there's no yibum. And here the Gemara asks, why not? Why is there no yibum? Just because she was a sotah and she's also to the husband. We didn't. That said, it said also labesa. The Mishnah said we didn't get to the drushes, but sotah is also to have relations with her husband until she proves her innocence. Right. She gets divorced if she chooses not to drink also. Or yes.
So before she drinks, the husband dies.
Yeah, the case was that if he died, right? That was the case. If he died, so then right. So there should be yibum.
She never drank the water yet.
You're right, she didn't drink water, right? And she can't drink the water now to prove her innocence right. To the yibum. That's a different halacha. Right. But here it says she does need chalitza, but she cannot do yibum. And the question is, why not? So here there's going to be Rav Yosef that's going to have three different versions of what Rav Yosef said, and then it's going to be Rav. Altogether, there are going to be four explanations why there's no yibum. The pasuk says, it's not really in the pshat, it's talking about a regular get, that, but it says over there that the husband divorces her because he found that she was ervas davar, something that she did improper, so therefore he divorces her, and she leaves his house and she goes to marry somebody else. The first pshat is talking about Yasami Beso, that he sent her away, that he divorced her. But the more saying in Drash that it has some kind of mashmois in the pasuk that even when she was not divorced, also it's talking about what would be in such a case when she was a ervas davar, the case of a sotah. And the pasuk says about what should be leishacher. What's the drash? That if she became a ervas davar, if she became something, she was mazana, something or suffix sotah over here, we're dashing like a suffix sotah. A vale sotah means that we know for sure that she was mazana. A suffix sotah means that we don't know the regular case of kina and stira. So the drash is saying it's talking about a suffix sotah also, and the pasuk says leishacher, that she leaves his house and she goes to marry somebody else. So here it's saying somebody else, leishacher, but don't marry the yavam. It's a drash. A drash in the pasuk, extra word could have said leish. It doesn't have to say acher. So it says leishacher. Dafka foreigner, she can marry a stranger, stama person, but she can't marry the yavam.
So he gets a chalitza.
So chalitza, right? But the master kasha, your kasha. Amalei abayil miyata chalitza nami loti boy. If he says it's a drash, there shouldn't be chalitza either. If the pasuk says that there's no zika, there's much more that there's no reason to do chalitza either. Amalei ilu isei labal mila boy get hashanami to boy chalitza, that she's not separated from the husband. The husband also would have to give her a get, even though she does it to the husband, but he does have to give her a get in order to permit her to marry somebody else. So here too, the yavam, she's still connected to the yavam, but not enough that he should be able to have relations with her, because it says acher ach v'lo yavam, but it's not coming to say no chalitza. There is chalitza, but there's no yavam. That was the first version in Rav Yosef. The pasuk says leishacher, so there's a drash leishacher v'lo yavam. Is Damri. Others have a different version in Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef, also Rav Yosef, but a different version. It's Damri, like a Shomer. Some say Rav Yosef said different. Also on the pasuk leishacher, Rahman Amar v'Yosef mebeis avalchai ba'isa leishacher. We just said the same pasuk, and also we're darshaning it as far as a suffix sotah. Not only the pasuk shata that she's mamash was mazana, but even a suffix sotah. And what's the point? She should marry somebody else. The lo listere lebeisa here. The one is not dashing the pasuk leishacher and not a yavam, but as I'm saying that marry somebody else. Why should the first husband divorce her? That she shouldn't ruin his home. Like Rashi brings down, the Gemara said before, that's snus of a besa kari shuma, that it ruins the house. So it's not advisable for somebody to marry her because she's gonna ruin his house. And the first husband, we advise the first husband divorce her because she shouldn't ruin your house. So you want to say it's chayv to do yibum. It's not a good thing to take a woman who's a suffix sotah, because this is a terrible thing in the home. So you can't be that the Torah obligated the husband to marry her. If so, that if we don't want people's houses to be ruined because they have a znus going around, so it's nothing to do with the yavam, then it should be anybody. No one should be allowed to marry her because she's going to ruin his house. Amalei, so who said that to? Abaye. Abaye asked the question to Rav Yosef, and Rav Yosef said back, by anybody else, it's true. Anybody else, we're going to advise him not to marry her. We would advise anybody. On the top. Okay, the regular person, we don't say that has to marry her. You want to ask us advice, we'll tell you don't marry her. A woman who's a suffix sotah, she's a suffix mazana, it's not advisable to marry her, even for a stranger. But okay, if you want to, we're not going to stop you. But a yavam, the point is going to be he's going to obligate it to. Yavam is not a question of advising. Yavam means if he's chayv yibum, he has to do yibum. So it can't be that the Torah is going to obligate him to do yibum to a woman who's a ruination for his home. That was the second version. Igadamri, Amr Rav Yosef, a third version of what Rav Yosef said. Akos of Korah Acher. The pasuk says he should be, if he divorces her, the first husband divorces her, and she goes marry somebody else. And the pasuk stresses it's to somebody else. Why is it to somebody else? He's not similar to the first one. He's different character. So the first one divorced her because she was a Mazana or Safek Mazana, according to this pshat. And the second one is taking her in. So they see the pasuk looks at him degradingly, that the second one is taking a woman who was maybe Mazana. So the pasuk calls it something degrading. So it can't be that the Torah is going to obligate him to marry. It seems a bit similar to the drasha before it's talk about ruining the home. We can't obligate him to ruin his home. And here the same point, that we're not going to obligate him to be a bad person. It's not a good thing to marry such a woman. If this is svara to say that you can't obligate a person to take in such a woman, so then what would be the case if somebody, she's not going to marry somebody else? This woman was a sotah sotah, and she got divorced, and she married somebody else, a stranger, and that person died, and he has a brother. He died without children. Are you going to say that we can't obligate his brother also to take her because she's a woman who has a history? No, that the Gemara says no. That's too far back history. She's already has a clean record over here. The answer is Gabed Dahai Mia B'Shem Tov Havakaima. By this husband, she's been in good record. Shem Tov. She had a good name that she wasn't Mazana. So, but you can't be that we're going to take a woman who has a bad name by your husband and tell somebody else that he should marry her. She's not in good standing. But if she did marry somebody else and then she's staying in good standing with that second husband, so then it could be a yichiv even to the next husband. So to that brother. So that was three versions of Rav Yosef. How come there's no yibum? Either because the drasha, the pasuk says ishacher, so the drasha is below the yavam, or the point is because it's going to ruin his house. He either can't obligate him to ruin his house, or that it's not an advisable thing. That's a bad thing to take such a woman. So the Torah is not going to obligate him to do something which is not recommended. That was all Rav Yosef. Rav Amar Kal V'chomer. Rav says Kal V'chomer that it can't be that the yavam is going to be mutter to marry her. If she became Asa to the one that she was mutter, till now she was married to her husband. She became a Suffolk Sotah. She's not allowed to have a relationship. She's Asa to him. So the brother-in-law till now was Asa. He was the brother-in-law. And now you have to have a heter of Yibum. So if there's Suffolk Sotah is enough to Asa her and her husband, who she was mutter to till now, so surely she's not going to become mutter to the brother-in-law. That if the Suffolk Sotah makes her Asa to her husband, surely can't be mutter to her brother-in-law, whose brother-in-law is always us. So you have to have a special letter of Yibum, and the Torah is not going to matter Yibum in a case where there's a Suffolk Sotah which even asks her to her husband. So here I just put in parentheses because the Gemara is going to fall off of this first way that it quoted it. The Gemara is going to edit it soon, but we'll read it straight. It's not going to make sense. A Kohen Gadol married an almana, which is not allowed. The Kohen Gadol is not allowed to marry a widow. So that was Aser, and he died, and he has a brother who's a Kohen Hedyot, and the Kohen Hedyot isn't allowed to marry an almana. Yesh lo ach Kohen Hedyot. Are you going to say Lotus Yavim? It shouldn't be Yibum because in this Nesra b'mutala basalo lakolshkein, she was Aser to the one she was Aser. She became Aser to the one that she's mutter. So the one that she's Aser to the brother is surely not a kolshkein. So those words don't make sense. The one right away stops. The words don't make sense. A Kohen Gadol married an almana. That was not mutter. That was Aser. The Gemara is quoting it as if that's the case that she was mutter, and now she became mutter because she's a Suffolk Sotah. And
so wait a second. So we're saying in that case that the Kohen Hedyot, the regular Kohen could do
Yibum. The Kohen Gadol married an almana, and he wasn't allowed to, but he died, and he has no children. So then the brother Kohen Hedyot does marry.
Really?
He does Yibum.
He does Yibum.
Oh, really?
This is called. Yeah, that's what we had in Yivamis also, I think. So there's no issue for him to marry. The first one was issue to marry,
Right.
but it was Tofas Kedushin. Right. And then it was Tofas Kedushin. It's not like Chayvik Krishas that's no Kedushin. The Kohen Gadol married the Lamana, she is married. So it's Tofas Kedushin. And when he dies, so the brother Kohen Hedyot, he has no problem. He's mutter Balman. But and the Gemara thought over here that it's a case where the Kohen Gadol was B'mutter lo Nesra. Those were Nesra b'mutter lo. That doesn't make sense because she wasn't mutter. Right. She wasn't mutter. It sounds like she was mutter to the Kohen Gadol, and then there's nus made of Rasa. That's not true. So b'mutala Nesra, the Gemara jumps up. Nesra, he's saying that she was Nesra b'mutala. Sira b'kaima. She's Asa. She's Asa. Kohen Gadol Asa. Alman is Asa to Kohen Gadol. And also the next word it says Nesra b'mutala. Mutala. Asa lahu. It seems to be the same question. I didn't get why it seems to be the same question. These words of Im Nesra b'mutala don't make sense. If she became Asa to the one that she's mutter. So these two questions seem to be the same thing exactly. Nesra, Asira, Vakaima, Mutala, Asala. No, isn't it the same question? Both of them are saying that the Kohen Gadol cannot marry the Almana. So why are you saying that she became Asa to the one that she's mutter? She didn't become Asa, she's Asa the whole time. So that is a mistake. So we have to fix up what Abai's kasha was. His kasha wasn't Kohen Gadol that married Almana. His kasha was like this: Ella, Eishes Kohen Chenensa, Umes, V'yeshlo Achalo, Lotis Yabim. Because of Nesher b'mutala b'asalo l'kolshkein, Eishes Kohen was raped, and the halach is that even if she was raped against her will, but she's also to her husband the Kohen, and he died. He didn't divorce her yet, and he died, and he has a brother who's a cholol. A cholol is a Kohen who was not a Kohen because his father married a Gusha. He's the son of a Kohen, but he married a Gusha, let's say, and the son is not a Kohen anymore. He loses all of his kuna. There's no issue anymore of him to marry Zona or Gusha. He's not a Kohen for all practical purposes. He's not a Kohen, not the Chumrah, not the Kula. He doesn't do Brechas Kohanim, but he also is not also to marry a Gusha. He's not also to marry the Kohen.
But he can marry any regular girl.
Yeah, he's even less than the Yisrael. The Yichus became less than the Yisrael, but he's married to marry. He's wanted to marry Yisrael. So he can marry a Chalal. His son, his daughter's going to be a Chalala.
The daughter won't be able to marry a Kohen.
Right. But it's mutter of him to marry. But anyway, what's the case over here? A Kohen's wife was raped, and therefore he's ushered to her, and he has to divorce her. He didn't divorce her, and he died. And he has a brother who's a chalal. It means that they're not from the same mother, let's say. So this brother was born from a grusha or whatever, so he's not a Kohen. So it should be Yibum.
The same mother afterwards.
One.
Should be the same mother after she became a halal.
So the first one was a Kohen. One brother's a Kohen, one brother's a Chalal. You can have such a thing. So the first brother was not allowed to marry her, and he was not allowed to stay with her after she was Nansa, and then he died. Are you going to say that this forward that if the first one, the original husband, was Asa, became Asa, so then there's no Yibum, even though there's no reason why there shouldn't be Yibum, because the Chalal is allowed to marry a woman who was Nansa. So are you going to say this far? You're saying in this far that any time that the husband came Asa to her, so the brother, the Yavam, can't become mutter, because if the Issa was enough to Asa the marriage, so surely you're not going to permit the Yibum. But so you're going to say in this case that there shouldn't be any Yibum, because the onus that happened to her, Asa her on her husband, so there's not going to be any Yibum to the brother. But it's not true that she is supposed to marry the brother Yibum to the brother who's a Chalal. The Gemara answers, honest be Yisrael Mishra Shari, with the high, Leka Isura, that there is no Issa, the Chalal is like a Yisrael, and there is no Issa for him to marry a Zona, honest. There's no, okay, I made a mistake, not a Zona. If we wrote something, then is also to Yisrael, but if it's bonus, the case of bonus is mutter to Yisrael. So the only time we talk, well, this far that we say that something that husband became Asr is not going to become mutter to the Yavam, to the brother, is only if that's the Isser, that the Yavam also would have had that Isser, if he would have been the husband. The case of Amishna was what? That she's a sotah, she became a sotah. That Isser applies to the Yavam also. So if the husband died, if the husband wife became a sotah, and then the husband died, it's not going to become mutter to the Yavam, because that's the kind of an Isser that it would have happened to him. If he would have been the husband, it would have been Asr. But here, the Chalal, if he would have been the husband, then she was Lanas, it would have been mutter. That Isser by him in his world is not an Isser. It's not Isser of an Anusa to a Chalal. So even though to the brother who's a Kohen who was an Isser, you don't say this far. This far is only strong in the case where such an Isser that it would apply to the brother, to the Yavam also, if he would have been the husband. But here, it would have been mutter. So Rabbi holds with his terrace. So altogether,
So the Chalal could
does do Yibum. And as far as our case, the case of the sotah that the husband died, there's only Chalitza. The kasha was that there be Yibum. We have three answers. Rav Yosef said only one of them, but there are three versions of what Rav Yosef said, and one version of what Rabbi said. Rav Yosef either said or that since it destroys his home, it can't be that the pasuk obligates him to destroy his home, or that he's considered a bad person, the person who's going to marry her, so it can't be that Torah obligated him to be a bad person and to take a woman who's a suffix sotah. And Rabbi's Kalachomer was that if the Isser sotah made her usher to her husband, so surely doesn't make mutter the yavam. And that's the halacha. But
the reason is not because of sotah.
In
The
which
reason
in
is
which
not, the issue is not because it's the reason that it's mutter is not because it's sotah.
the reason why it's mutter or usher.
That it's-
The reason why there's no yibum, and then it's not going to be, if there's no yibum, it's going to be Eshes Achshel of Moka Mitzvah. If we have Sforos that the Torah didn't matter yibum in this case, and then it's going to be Mamash also to do yibum.
Right.
That's good. And this is not going to be because she's a sotah. This is because there's no, it's a Eshes
Right.
Achshel. Mishnah, Eilu Asuras Malachal B'Truma. The following women are also to eat Truma, means he was a Eshes Kohen or a Bas Kohen, I think, either way. And she's Bas Kohen. Even if the husband, even if she's also a Bas Kohen, once she married to then, she becomes also to eat Truma from now on. Once she was Mazana, she's also to eat Truma. Even if she's not going to be married and her father's a Kohen, she becomes Pasal to eat Truma. I think I'm pretty sure. Rashi over here only says, if the husband, where's Rashi over here? Rashi says him who Kohen, but I think they say also if the father's a Kohen, also it's not going to help. She's not going to be able to eat Truma once she was Mazana as a wife. So here goes the Mishnah. Eilu Asuras Lachal B'Truma. Homeris Me'anilach. She's Moda. She admits that she was Mazana. A woman was married to a Kohen, and she admits that she was Mazana. She's not allowed to eat Truma anymore. She has to get divorced. She's also not allowed to eat Truma. B'Shavo Eidim Shitmeya. Seems to be the same thing. I think I wasn't making a big deal out of these words. Shabola Eidim. If Eidim come. Eidim is as good as the truth, right? If she's Moda, it says already that she says to Me'anilach. She's Moda that she was Mazana. She can't eat Truma. So Shabo Eidim Shitmeya seems to be the same thing. There's mamish evidence that Eidim come testimony that she was Mazana. Seems to be the same thing. The Gemara is going to make a deal out of these words. And the third case, Omeris, any shosa, she says, I'm not going to drink, even though there's such a thing also that a woman could say, I don't want to drink, even though I was not Mazana. She's allowed to say such a thing. She loses the ksuba. She gets divorced, she loses the ksuba, but she doesn't have to admit that she was Mazana. She could say, I was not Mazana, but I don't want to drink. And we say, okay. And she gets divorced and she could live a good life. And if she was Mazana, she could do tshuva. But there's such thing, any shosa, she's not asking to drink after she was already kina and stira, so then she's also also ti truma. This is like suffix sotah. The first two cases is a vadai that she's model, that they were edim, so she's definitely was mazana. And Omer Sani Show says that even if she doesn't say that she is, but she is a suffix sotah because kini and stira, and she doesn't want to drink, so she can't eat truma. Also, Shabbat Lene Rotsa Lashkosa. The husband doesn't want to give her to drink. The husband says, "I'll give her ksuba." The husband has a right to divorce her. Even if she was not Mazana, he's allowed to divorce her. And he says, I don't want this wife. She's including after I said not. Even if she was not Mazana, I don't want to stay married to her. So he has the right. He does have to give her ksuba because she says she was not Mazana. But if he doesn't want to give her to drink, so then she's not going to be able to eat truma because a suffix sotah is not allowed to eat truma. And if the husband had relations with her on the way to the Beis Hamikdash, means once she became a sotah, the husband's not allowed to have relations. If he has relations with her, it's also going to stop the bedika. That it's not going to be a good test if he had relations with her, even though he says, "Okay, I had relations." That's like a small issue, but she was mazana with her. But if he had relations with her after she became a sotah, so then he forfeits, and she's not. He can't marry her. He can't stay married to her because there was a way to verify her innocence if she would have drank. But now that he messed it up because he had relations with her, so now there's no way to verify her innocence, and she has to get divorced. And I guess he has to give a ksuba. I guess because it's his fault. He shouldn't have had relations. And she's saying that she was not mazana, so I guess he has to give ksuba. So the Mishnah itself is simple, and I think the whole Gemara is only going to be on this one point coming up. But the Mishnah is nothing to talk about besides that one thing that we said, that it's pshita, the case of the two Eidim. Two Eidim said she was mazana. Of course, she can eat truma. Rav Amram. Rav Amram said, "Hal milza amalan Rav Sheshes ma'analan einim mimas nisan." The following thing Rav Sheshes told us means Rav Sheshes was the Rebbe of Rav Amram. Rav Amram said, Rav Sheshes told me the following thing, and he illuminated our eyes from the Mishnah. Means he told us something and he brought us support from a Mishnah. I think there's another. Eger brings down another place where Rav Amram said the same lashon in the name of Rav Sheshes. He said something about Rav Sheshes, and he said that he said something that probably, so to speak, as far on his own, like he's going to say here, he dashed in the pasuk, and he brought us support from the Mishnah. And he says, he illuminated our eyes. What was the din of Rav Sheshes? Sotah sheish la'idim b'medinas hayam, ein amayim bot kenosa. If there's a sotah that is kini and stira, but there are edim that are not present. There are edim someplace in the world. They saw she was mazana. Even though they didn't come to testify, the water is not going to work. Means whenever we have a sotah that she drinks the water and she's innocent, it could be, the more going to talk about it, that it could be she's not really innocent. Because if there are edim that actually saw that she was mazana, even though they didn't come forward, the water is not going to work. The test is not going to be a good test. The test is only if there's no way to verify. But if there's a way to verify, and even though they didn't come forward, it doesn't work. Finish.
I thought, and also if he did something wrong with the husband, then
Right, that's another Gemara. That's going to be someplace at the end of the Masechta, I think.
Right, that's also,
That if he's also zana with women,
right.
so it doesn't work. Even though it's not the same. Even though it doesn't have to do with her.
Right.
Hers knows, but that's not going to verify her innocence or not. If he's, but here's something else. Here's something else. This point is that there are edim that she was mazana. This news that we're talking about. There are edim that she was mazana. So the water is not going to work, even though she's really worse. She's worse than she's worse. So it should kill her. She's even edim. No, if they're edim, then do it by yourself. You use Bezdin Shalmata could figure it out. So even if they didn't come forward, the water doesn't work. That was Avshesh's point. And he had his own drash from the pasuk, and he brought it right from the Mishnah. My time, where does he get it from? The lek of the other ba. This is going with the Pashup Shop. We had a drash the other day. Rashi brings down that Eidein ba means to say that they're not two Eidim, but there's one Eid, then one Eid stops her from drinking. It's a fancy drash. But the Pashup Shop is saying that she was in seclusion. But we don't know if there's no Eidim to say if she was Mazana. We know that she's secluded, there's skinny and see whatever, but the Eidein ba, we have no testimony that she was Mazana. We don't know if she was mazana or not. So then you bring her, she drinks. That's Pashup Shah. But it says ve'edein ba. So you could say it means edein ba. Nobody stepped forward. No edim came to testify. But the more he's dashing, the pasuk is mashma that there are no edim. Only if there are no edim, period, then the water is going to work. But the lack of the other ba, only if nobody knows about it. The other ba. But if there's somebody that does know about it, even though they didn't come forward, the water is not going to work. That was Adkan, that was Rav Shesh's drash on his own. He did a drash from the pasuk. And then he brought it right from the Mishnah. And he brought it right from our Mishnah. My Mishnah we just learned that it says which women don't drink, which women, can't eat truma. One is if she says she's molded that she was Mazana. One was that Aiden came that she's Mazana. And the Gemara's point is that's Pshita. That's Pshita. If the Aiden that came, she's Mazana. We said already that if she's Mazana, she can't eat truma. The other way the Meimas, when did the Aiden come to say that she was Mazana? If they came before she drank, Zonahi, that's Pasha, she's a Zona, and we know from the line before that it says that if she says she's Mazana, she can't eat Truma. So it's Pasha to Edim come that she can't eat Truma. To Edim come say she was Mazana. So that can't be the Pshat. Means the Pasha Pshat in the Mishnah's class it passes. In the Mishnah's class, we learn the Mishnah, we're going to say that Edim came and said she's Mazana, so she can't eat Truma. But the Gemara says that's Pshita. There's no Chiddush that to Edim, I believe. So the Gemara wants to learn a Chiddush out of here. Ella lebasa d'shasai. The case is that they came after she drank. What's the point? That the Edom came after she drank. She was a Suffolk Sota, Kini and Stira. They gave her a drink and she drank. Everyone's waiting. Nothing happened. She's fine. That means she was not Mazana. The husband takes her back. Then to Edom come that she was Mazana. To Edom come she's Mazana. Then she says Mama Shasa to her husband and everything else to the Truma. So there's a kasha on the Edom. The Edom, you say that she was Mazana. How come the water didn't? How come she didn't explode? How come she didn't die? If that Rav Sheshus will be right that the water doesn't work, since they didn't come forward yet, they came on Tuesday. On Sunday she drank. The Sunday before Sunday she drank. 2 days later the Edom came, but they were in the world. They saw this nus. She was Mazano, and they say. So they say you should know. You know why she didn't die from the water? Because we were around. We lived in the world. We existed. That there's testimony available. We didn't come forward yet. But the drinking didn't verify anything because there are Edim. Like Avshesha said, if there are Edim in Medinas Hayam, the water's not going to work. So we're testifying that she was Mazan, and there's no kasha on us, the fact she didn't die, because since there are Edim in the world, she doesn't die. But if Avshesha is wrong, if you say that the water works, even if the Edim are available, but they didn't come forward, the water's going to work. So then we tell the Edim, you're liars, because if she was Mazana, she should have died. She should have exploded from the water. That's a raya that the water does not work if there are edim, even in Medinas Hayam. This is Rav Sheshes says drash, and also a raya from the Mishnah. Rav Yosef is going to challenge the raya. And he's going to bring down a Mishnah that says later on, that's a preview. It's going to say later on, a Mishnah talks about if the woman has, she's a big tzaddikus, she has chuyot, she was mizana, but she has merit. Is it possible that the merit will save her from dying from the Mayim Amorim? What do you say? We don't care what big tzaddikus it is. If she was mizana, the water is going to test that she explode. What would you say? You wouldn't think that she's is going to help her. But there's a machlokes in the Mishnah later on. Later on, Daf Chav, there's a tricky Mishnah, the way the printer did it. He separated Daf Chav and Daf Chav Beis. So it's really one big Mishnah. Tanakama says that if she has a schus, it could help her. And then there was Reb Shimon that says that the schus doesn't help her. You're on the side of Reb Shimon. And then Rebbe says that it helps her a bit, that it could be extended. She might have an extended life, but she's going to start. What is the word? Degenerating? Is that the word? It's she's going to have this degenerative punishment that she's going to get sicker and sicker. Then she's going to die. She's going to explode. Then she's going to explode. So there are three sheetahs over there, and we'll get to the more to discuss what's the first one. The first one said that it just helps. Rabbi Shimon says it doesn't help. Rabbi says it helps that she should only be degenerative. It should be extended life, but she's going to degenerate and then die the way she would have died if she would have no schus. But what does Rav Yosef want to say? Rav Yosef wants to say Uriah is not a raya. What was no raya? They didn't come and say she drank and nothing happened, and they didn't come and say she was mizana. So we look at the Edom. She didn't explode. Isn't that a kasha on you? So the Gemara wanted to prove from that since there were Edom in the world, the water doesn't work. That was what Shesha said, that since there were Edom available, even though they didn't come forward yet, the water didn't work. But the Gemara is going to say, Rav Yosef is going to say, not a possibility. You know why the water didn't work? Because she has chuyot. The Edom will say, we're not liars. She was mizana. You have a kasha? Why she didn't explode? Because she has chuyot. I could really tell you the water does work, even if there are Edom in the Medina Sayyam, the water is going to work because we don't know that she's tameh. And this woman who didn't explode, and they didn't say she was mizana, maybe we might say because she had some merit that extended the tolula. Tolula means like what? That it stopped her from dying. That was Rav Yosef rejected the raya of Rav Sheshes. He doesn't say Rav Sheshes is wrong, but he says you have the raya from the Mishnah. The more explain what they're arguing about. Rav Sheshes thinks Rav Yosef's kasha and not kasha, and he thinks that he has a good raya. Rav Yosef doesn't think it's a good raya. What are they arguing about? The misnavna, the Rebbe. The misnavna would be degenerating. That's the word. I think even in modern Hebrew, how do they call that? Nivun. I think when somebody degenerates, I think it's called nivun. But they got it from here. The misnavna, the Rebbe. What does that mean? The Tan Rebbe Yomer. Schus told of my mamor. Ve'ena yoledes ve'ena meshabachas. Ela misnavna bo'olaches l'soshi mesa bosami. So this is Rebbe's opinion. I think it's over there the third opinion. It's a Tanakama, Reb Shimon, and Rebbe. Rebbe says that schus does help for the my mamor. But what's going to happen? She's not at any yoledes. In the meshabachas, it says a woman who's innocent, then she's going to give birth, and she's going to even become better. That if she drank Maimah Mormon, she was really innocent. So she's not going to get any schus. The Maimah is not going to help her because she really was Mazana, but she has chuyot. But she's going to degenerate. At the end, she's going to die with that misa that the Torah says. She's going to explode the way the Torah says. But the schus helps that she to be extended. But there's over there a Tanakama. Tanakama says that's schus tola. Just to get the frame, the picture is Tanakama, Reb Shimon, and Rebbe. Tanakama says schus tola. Reb Shimon says schus is not tola, and Rebbe says that it's tola to extend it, and she'll degenerate and die with that explosion. That she'll explode. So they're arguing. What does Tanakama hold? Rav Sheshes Sava bein the Rebbe bein the Rabbanan havia misnavna. Rav Yosef Sava the Rebbe have a misnavna. The Rabbanan have a misnavna. What does Tanakam hold? Tanakam holds that schus does help. Rebbe says schus helps, that it should be extended, but she's going to degenerate and then die at the end the way she would have died. The way she would have died from Tzavsa Bitna Nafla Yirecha. But the question is, what is Tanakam? And Rebbe Shimon knows schus doesn't help at all. Schus is not a factor like Moshe wanted. But the question, what does Tanakama hold? Tanakama says that schus is tola. So you could learn that he holds schus is tola, period. Schus helps. And might not affect her, even though she's guilty of this nus, but the schus helps. But there's a way to learn that the Tanakama also holds that it's misnavna, that she's going to be start degenerating. The machlokes is that according to Rebbe, she's going to die eventually with that tzavsa bitna nafla yirecha. that she's going to explode at the end. And they want to argue with that and say that the schus might help, that she shouldn't die. She might die a natural death, so to speak, not natural, but just degenerating until she dies. Not that she's not going to subsubmit nothing, but not that her belly is going to blow up. So, how do we do now? According to the cases here, that two Aiden came and said she was Mazana. She drank, nothing happened, nothing at all happened. She didn't degenerate, nothing happened. She's fine. And the Aiden come and say she was Mazana. So Sheshes holds that that's a raya. It can't be schus. Even according to anybody, schus wouldn't. She wouldn't. According to nobody, will a guilty woman continue living healthy? According to Rav Shimon, schus is not told at all. According to Rebbe, misnavna at the end she's going to explode. According to Rabbanan, she's misnavna and she's not going to explode. But surely she's going to be degenerating. To be healthy doesn't exist. Schuyot don't help that a person shouldn't be affected at all. So who held like that? Rav Sheshes hold. Rav Sheshes Sava, Ben the Rebbe, Ben the Rabbanan, having misnavna. The Machlokes was Rabbanan say that then she'll die from the degeneration. Now she's not going to explode. But if you see that nothing happens, she's not degenerating. She's fine. She's healthy. So that can't be because of schus. It must be because the mime is not bodik, because they're Eidim Medina Sayam. But if Yosef held that according to Rabbanan, she's not misnavna at all, that schus helps and she doesn't even degenerate. So therefore he said, your eye is not a rye, because it could be that the reason why she didn't degenerate is because she has schuyot. So that's where there's a machlokes, room for Rav Sheshes and Rav Yosef to discuss if there's a raya from the Mishnah about this halacha that Rav Sheshes wanted to be mechadesh, that if there's an Eidim Medina Sayam, it's not bodik. It's not bodik. So Rav Sheshes said, so far what do we have? Rav Sheshes halacha, he brought a raya, he brought a pshat in the pasuk that we got it from, and he brought a raya from the Mishnah. Rav Yosef says it could be that the raya is not a raya. I'll put in parentheses just to show that that's like a thing. I think it's a thing in itself. I think more going to continue now to ask kashas on Rav Sheshes. Masib Rav Simi Barashi. I think it's a kasha on Rav Sheshes. Rav Shimon. Now we're mentioning what Moshe mentioned before, the third opinion, the middle opinion, that it doesn't help at all. Rav Shimon, this is what I think you say this far also. Rav Shimon by my mom doesn't help at all. She could be the biggest tzaddikus, but if she was Mazana by this time, so this she's going to explode. And even not the Omer schos told of my mom, if you're going to say that it schos does help, so then a couple of problems happen. Matcha ata esamayim b'fnei kol hanoshim hashosos. I think the word is matcha, madhe, they say madhe or matcha, that you're going to dim. You're going to dim the Mayim Amorim in front of all the women. All the women are scared, terrified of the Mayim Amorim. That they know if they're Mazana, they're going to explode. They're going to die, whatever, they're going to die. And therefore, they'll admit. If they really were Mazana, they're going to admit. Or they're not going to be Mazana, they're scared. But if you say that there are schuyot that could cover up for her, so she's not going to be so scared of the drinking the water. And she might not admit. Or she might be Mazana and holding on to the fact that she has a lot of schuyot maybe. So if Shesh says it can't be, the fact that the Torah wants that the woman should be scared of the Mayim Amorim, it can't be that schuyos would help. And also, another problem number two, that there's a problem that the women who are really innocent, that the Torah, the women who are kinevishtir, but they really were innocent, they really went on Mazana, and they drank the water, they said we're innocent, and everything's fine. So people are going to say, Allah's, that really they're not fine, really they're Mazana, could be she has other schuyot. So it can't be that the Torah is going to give schuyot to be able to cover up on her znus, because first of all, the women are not going to be scared of the water, and second of all, the women who are really innocent, they're not going to be so, what's the word? When someone is cleared, what is it? Convincing. Well, they're not going to be cleared. People are not going to look at them that they really something on you. So it could be they really were Mazana, but they have schuyot. Anyway, that was Rav Shimon. Now we're going back to Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes said that there's another thing that stops the water from checking her. If they're Eidim Medina Sayam. If that's true, so the same problem Rav Shimon has should be over here also. If it's true, Yeshla Eidim Medina Sayam Nami Ata Motzi Shemra Ala Tahor Rosh Hashasu. The problem, Rav Shimon said it's a problem. It can't be that someone's going to drink and we're still not convinced 100% of their innocence. If Sheshes is true, then there's another problem. Schus is not told, but Eidim Medina Sayam doesn't check. So when the woman drank and she said, "Oh, you see, I'm innocent," so we say, maybe there are Eidim someplace that didn't step forward, so it's not a raya. So you see that Rav Shimon doesn't hold that's flora. Rav Shimon has to hold that it's absolute. When she drinks and everything happens, we know for sure that she was innocent. So that's a kasha of Sheshes. The Gemara answers Reb Shimon Kamrit. Reb Shimon is the with the schus lo talia, Edom nami lo talu. I'm asking according to Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon that holds that you have to have this absolute proof that when she drinks and nothing happens, she's innocent. So I'm asking, according to him, I'm not saying this. My point, Rav Shesh's point, I mean, from the pasuk is right from the pasuk. Obviously, he's going to say Rav Shimon doesn't know the midrash, but the right from the Mishnah, he says that the Mishnah is mashma, not like it's not Rav Shimon. I didn't cheshbon the whole Gemara, but I think that's what the Gemara says over here. There might be a kasha, something aversive in between. I'll leave that out, but that was the Gemara's kasha. The Gemara's the kasha was if the water, if the water is not bolding, if there's the Edom Medina Sayam, so Shimon wouldn't be happy with that because Shimon is masper that the water is absolute proof. So he says, I'm not saying according to Rav Shimon. According to Rav Shimon, you're right, but not according to Rav Shimon. The old schus is Tola. So either according to Rabbanan or according to Rebbe. So according to Rebbe also, not only according to Rabbanan. According to Rebbe, then there would be a raya that she's misnavna. You have to go back to the I didn't catch him the Gemara before, but let's leave it out. So that was the kasha. That's the Shesh's answer himself. Bottom line, Mosif Rav. It probably what says on the side, Mosif Rava. The following women, their mincha has to be burned. So part of the process of minchas kanos, besides the drinking the water, she also has to bring a mincha. Question when she brings it before or after, but there's a mincha that's brought, made out of saorim, the famous mincha sotah. So sometimes it has to be burnt. What does it be burnt? Burnt means on the mizbeach. That means you mark it on the mizbeach. But sometimes it's going to be problematic, and you can't put it on the mizbeach. And on the other hand, it doesn't go to chulin. There's no way to be poded, so it's going to be burnt. What are the cases that like problematic cases? What are they? So one case is Omer is Tameyami, that after they brought the mincha, after they makad, we'll see the makadish mincha, then she gives in, she admits, she says that I was tamei, I was mizana. Also, Shabbat the Edom she tmeya. That Edom came and said that she was tamei. Both the same things. Either she admits or Edom come. So then you can't bring it on the mizbeach because it's only made to verify the truth. We know the truth already. We know that she was mizana, so there's nothing to verify. You can't use the carbon. You can't take it out the chulin because it was really a kodesh. That's the Mishnah. Now the Gemara asks, what's the case? That's the Edom Amos. When did his Edom come and say that she was mizana? So the mincha you have to put it into a klishavish, then it becomes kedushas aguf. You can't be poded anymore. Before that, it's only kedushas damim. That money is the value, and you could be poded. What's the case over here that the Edom came and said that she was mizana? If it's before they put the mincha into a klishavish, typical chulin, we see that okay, we say it's a mistake that you could be poded. You could be poded. Ella labas the kadosh. The case is after you put into a klishavish, you can't be poded anymore. And therefore, we say that you have to burn it. You can't be makfar adam mizbeach because it's not relevant anymore because she was moda. The Edom came, and you can't be also l'chulin because it's kedushas aguf. It doesn't go l'chulin. Iyam b'pishlam amayim bot genosa alma bas mikdash makrivi v'chi kadosh mei kara shapri kadosh mishamachi menachas in this reference. Eli yamrit ena amayim bot genosa tigali milsalam afred v'chi kadosh mei kara v'tos kadosh v'tepik l'chulin. So a long kasha, but the point of the kasha is that it was Makadesh if it's what Rashi brings down, there has to be royal Kiddush. It has to be when you put a mincha into a klishavish that it becomes holy, Kedushas Aguf, is only if it's a mincha which is a real mincha, that it's not a mistake. But if there's a mistake going on over here, so it doesn't become a mincha. It's not what Rashi calls it, what is it? Roy, this one about roy lamb. This Rashi says, it has to be that it's really a mincha. So, and it wasn't a mistake. So here the Gemara is asking, when the Edom came, so they existed, they were in the world. Is the whole mincha, the water and the mincha, is it roy to check her out? If you say that it works against Rav Sheshes, so it does work, so then it's a good mincha. When it was made, it was a fine mincha. It was supposed to work. So it becomes kadosh. But if you say that since the Edom in the world, it doesn't work, so the whole mincha is a mistake. It doesn't work. You can make a mincha, which the whole process is not going to work anyway. So it should be the chulin. It must be that's a kasha nafsheshes. You see that the water does work, even if the Edom in a sayam. Kasha nafsheshes. So the more first starts with dochak teretz. I think the case will be that she was a sotah, Kinyan stira, and then they didn't come that she was mizana on a different count. Is that the case? I don't think I saw Rashi on this yet. Is that the case? Shezinsa, yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's what she says. Shezinsa bazara lacha shekisha bakli. Balz nus zebo edim. But all tuma shall steer bishona. Hilcha kikacha bakli bas mikdash and markav havoid. The law bula edim. So if she's mazana even at, she's mazana for a different story. So you have a very very hard case that she's coming now. That what do we have the case that when she was, I don't know, it has to be so fancy in the Azora. It has to be that she was mazana after. Why does the Gemara make such a fancy case that she was mazana in the Azora?
Maybe that the carbon was in the Azora.
Again, what do you have to have? That you have to have a case that they were Mekadosh it, and after.
Now it's in the Azora already, and now she is.
So the only Mekadosh now that she's here already. She's not someplace else. So she's here in the Azora, and now she was Mazana in the Azora. So that's the reason that the mincha was a good mincha, because at the time that they were Mekadosh it, she was not yet. She was not Eidim. They were not Eidim in any place. The Eidim are now on the newsnos. That's a very difficult pshat. And the Gemara says right away, there are people that are escorting her around Beis Hamikdash. She's not by herself. So the Gemara says, okay, we say bigger. She's instead of Pirchei they were the ones who was on it with her. It happened in the Azara. She had to go to the Shevutim. She said, excuse me, they're not going to hold on to her and watch her. She has to go to relieve herself. So they let her go. It could be as far as I mean, they'll go to whatever there is. And somebody was inside over there by the Beis Akisa and they were Mazana. And they didn't come to say she was Mazana. So the Gemara said the possibility. The answer of Sheshes will say that the case of the Mincha is only in the case where they didn't come and she was Mazana after it was in the Miskadesh Bekli, which is quite dochak. The Papa says another terrace. The Papa Amar Lodim Kedamina Meikora, but the Karma Tepik Chulin, but Tepik Chulin. The answer is Midrabanan. I forgot to this word also. Again, what's happening now that we found out that they were Eidim, so we say them a prayer. I think I'll miss them a prayer that it was not a good mincha in the first place, and it should be chulin. But people are not going to realize. They're going to say, "Why you put a mincha in tekli shavuos?" Then you say that it's chulin. They're going to learn that bad thing. So therefore, we say, "B'rabbanan, burn it. Don't make it chulin." The next Gemara, I think, is I put in parentheses just to show that it's on the side point. This point that we just answered, the proper answer, that is the Rabbanan Gzeir Sham Yom B'Sin Kli Shavuos L'Chulin. That the Gemara is never kasha. That you see someplace where you don't say this drop. One, it's going to be a kasha on our papa. The kasha is really going to come out from the last words. We could have skipped all of this. I think if you look down over here, that the kasha is really just from about 7-8 lines from the bottom, the end of the brisa. That's the whole kasha. But the Gemara tells us a lot of information before that. If the mincha became tamei before kedushas kli, it's only kedushas damen. So you could be poded. So arehi kechala menachos b'tipoda. That's a regular mincha that was not yet. There was that somebody sanctified it, but only b'peh kedushas peh, and therefore you can redeem it. If it became tamei, so you redeem it. It becomes chulin again. Misha kitcha b'kli. If it became tamei afterwards, already kedushas haguf, they already put into the kli shares. Arehi kechala menachos b'tisoret. Like any mincha that becomes tamei after kedushas haguf, it can't be poded anymore. So then the dach is that it's burnt. How about kiddush hakomes? That what do? You put the mincha into a kli shavuos, then you take a kmitza, and the kmitza also you have to be mekadosh the kmitza also into a kli shavuos. You put the kmitza into another kli shavuos. Kiddush hakomes lehispek lahakvivo ad shemeis hu or ad shemeis ahi arei kechala menachos v'tisorev. That's what happens when you put the komets into a kli shavuos. So you're not marking with the komets yet. So also if the owner of the mincha dies, or here the husband or the wife, so there's no more issue about verifying it anymore. So it also becomes useless, and also you have to burn it. It has kedushas haguf, and you burn it. Then, if they mark of the komas, means that everything is supposed to do. They brought the milcha, they marked on the mizbeach, everything's fine. So, and then he or she died. So the question is, do you say that it's tisorif or it was a good korban? The Gemara says it was a good korban. Why? The purpose of this mincha is to verify her how long. Doesn't have to be for 10 years, it could be for 10 seconds also. It verified her innocence. So from the time that it was marked, it verified her innocence. So it did its job. So it's a kosher mincha, even though now it's not relative anymore because now she died or he died, but it did its job. Since it did its job, it's a good mincha, and therefore the mincha can be eaten. All that we still don't need for our purposes. If Adam come and say that she's Mazana after the mincha was already in the kli, so you burn the mincha, because as this was quoted on the top line also. The Data Gemara had a problem about why, if it's Salem or Freya, that it shouldn't have been good mincha. But that we asked already before, we said the teretz. And one teretz was after in a certain case, when it was in the Azora. Second teretz was that's when Rabbanan. But this is the line that we want now. Nimsu eideha zomamin min chasachulin. That's the whole kasha now. Nimsa eideha zomamin. Which eidim zomamin? The eidim of Kini and Stira. They brought her to the Beis Hamikdash because they were eidim that she was warned and secluded, then she becomes us with her husband, and she's ready to drink the Mayim Amorim. But then eidim come and say the whole thing is not true. Eidim zomamin. Your eidim that came, they weren't even there. They were Bnei Brak. They weren't in the vicinity, and therefore the whole thing is over. The whole thing is a mistake. Min chasachulin. Mincha means the whole thing was a mistake. They were Makadish the Mincha, but the whole thing was a hoax. The whole thing wasn't true. She wasn't a sotah at all. There wasn't Kini and Stira. What's the Morris Kasha? You, if Papa said there's such a thing as Minarbanan, you're not going to take a Mincha out of the Klishavis and just say it's Chulin, because people are going to Zera Shema Yomu. How does it go? Shema Yomu Matzin Miklishavis Lachol. Over here, you don't say that. How come you don't say that just like here you were choshish that people shouldn't say you're allowed to be poda klisharis or say that's chulin afterwards in the poda the mincha that was in the klisharis. So by Edom Zoman also you should say the same thing. The answer is Edom Zoman kamrit, Edom Zoman kala islahu. Edom Zoman makes a lot of noise. When Edom Zoman happens, they were going to make her a sotah and make her drink, and then Edom Zoman, it's in the top headlines. So then there's not going to be any gzera. People are not going to say, oh, it was a mincha and that was a kedushas aguf. They're going to realize the whole thing was a hoax. But in a regular case, like not a regular case, but a case where Edom come and say that she was tummy, it doesn't make such headlines. That's a regular case. A woman was mazana. It's not as noisemaker as the Edom Zomerman. So therefore, in this case, there's no drabanan. So that was a side point, the kasha of Papa's teretz, and we want to answer it. So what we have, just to zoom out a second, we had Rav Sheshes. He was the one who started the whole thing. He said this chiddush that after Edom, even Dinas Hayam, the water's not going to work. He said it right from the pasuk, and then he brought a Mishnah, which of Yosef's challenge. Maybe it's not right from the Mishnah. It depends what they hold about Misnavna. The Gemara Kasha from Rav Shimon, and that the Gemara says, I'm not saying according to Rav Shimon. Rav Sheshes means not according to Rav Shimon. The Gemara Kasha from this case of Bola Edom Shitmeya, that the mincha is nisrefes, and the Gemara said two terutzim to that. Either the case was Sheshinza Bazara. After the mincha was in Skadesh, or Midabanan, Gzeir Shem Yomu, Motzim Lukishalas Lachol. The Gemara ends off, Rav Sheshes is right. Tani Kavah said Rav Sheshes, V'lo Mitamei. We do have a price like Rav Sheshes. This Allah is true, that if the Edom in Dinas Hayam, it doesn't work, the water's not going to work, but not for his reason.
His raya from our Mishnah?
I think the raya from the pasuk, the reason, his source is not going to be the source, because they're going to bring a different source. So it's not right from no point about the raya from the Mishnah, but it's going to bring it that the source is different. He brought the raya was ve'edein ba. That was his pasuk ve'edein ba. That wanted there's no edim, and here there are edim, even though they don't come forward. There are edim in the world, but the Brisa dashes differently. It says in the pasuk utarahi. So the Brisa Darshans, first, so a couple of words over here, just to make this highlighted over here. It says Tahora. Really, it says Utahora. That's the same word, but it has a vav also. That's the Utahora. And then it says he. So the Brisa Darshans, Tahora, below Sheish La Eidim B'Medina Sayam. That's it, that's the Brisa. The Brisa says Tahora, that if they're Eidim B'Medina Sayam, so what does it say with Tahora he? How does the pasuk read over there? Utahora he. Okay, Rashi means the pasuk. The imlo nitma yisho torahi. The nixov in Israel zara. Here's the pasuk that argument was going on. If she was not mazana and she's really innocent, then she's going to become clean. She'll be innocent and she'll have children. That's the good story that she was not mazana at the end. But it says this pasuk utorahi. So there's a drasha that tahora below sheish la'edim din sayam. This test that the water does to show that she was not mazana is only if they are not edim din sayam. So that's the extra word that the Brisa Darshans, and it's Rav Sheshes is halacha, but a different pasuk, not Rav Sheshes is pasuk, a different pasuk. The Brisa goes on, has utahorahi. That's even the vav is also extra. Below tells her that not if she has merit. If she has merit, then it could be that the water is not being voted, is not Bodhiker,
Right.
that even though she's really guilty, but not going to test because she has a schus, which is like the Rabbanan, like Rebbe, not like Rab Shimon. And he, the lo sheyisu v'yitnu mosros b'levana. So it doesn't decide to look on Taisus later on what the word mosros over there means weaving, was spinning, weaving. The woman means how do we say yenta? That's how we say in Yiddish, the yentas, that the yentas are not talking about it. If there's rumors about this woman that she's Mezana, that then the water doesn't work. If there's they talk about her, also the water doesn't work. So we have to see that later on. There's a mission about it, but that's the end of the brisa, and we're happy that Rav Sheshes has a brisa like him, even though not his same source. Agav, the Gemara ends off that what did the brisa say? It says tahora, utahora, and it had one brisa to say that Edom Mendinas Hayam, the water's not going to work like Rav Sheshes, and utahora that the schuyos do help her to be saved from the Mayim Amorim. And then one is asking Rab Shimon, why does he do it? Why doesn't he dash in the word? Rab Shimon, the vav lo dorish. So there's a machlokas in general if you dash in the vav or not. Some dash in the vav, some dash. So this Bryce is dash in the vav, and he doesn't have to dash in the vav. Okay, if Shimon doesn't dash in the vav, and therefore he says that schus does not help, not like the Bryce. And he's Latani is not to argue, and he holds the vav. It's not a reason to dash in. But the kash is va'ika yesh la edim b'medinas hayam, that the first drasha does agree to the first drasha. He doesn't agree to the second drasha, but he agrees to one drasha. Lo sheish la'edim b'medinas means he's also going to agree to this. Oh, so this is going back to the kasha before. Before the Rav Shimon said this was the kasha on the bottom of Amud Aleph. Rav Shimon said it can't be that the schus is tova, because if the schus is tova, then people are going to be motzi laz on.
It's a side question, right?
Yeah. The Rav Sheshes is okay.
Yeah,
Right. I think so. Rav Sheshes is okay as a brisa like him, but once we have the brisa, so now it's a kasha of Shimon, because he should dash in the word tahora. He doesn't dash in the vav. Okay, so he doesn't have tol schus as tola, but he does hold it. You have to dash in the pasuk, and it says tahora v'lo sheish la'edim b'medinas. Now we're saying that Rav Shimon also agrees to this drasha. Before, Rav Sheshes said, I'm not saying according to Rav Shimon. According to Rav Shimon, you're right. Because he says that it has to be absolute test, or else it's going to be motzi laz on the nashim tahoros. They're really innocent. And people are going to say, yeah, it could be Abbas Chus. So he's also, the Mar said before, that he's not going to agree to this point, because if Edom Medinas Hayam also doesn't test, so then they'll say, yeah, it could be the Edom Medinas Hayam. So that's what Mar's asking now, that now there's a pasuk now. Before we didn't ask from the pasuk before, Edom Ba. The Mar didn't ask the Kashan of Sheshes. But on Rav Shimon. But now the more is saying there's a brisa that has a pasuk Tahora to say v'lo sheish le'edim medinas hayam. And according to you, how could you say that stops the water from working? So there's going to be motzi laws on the women that are going to drink and nothing's going to happen. The more answers, yesh le'edim medinas hayam or whatever lo shchicha. Lo shchicha. What's that? Lo shchicha. So people won't be motzi laws. They're going to say maybe that woman that she was mazana. If there was chostola, then no one knows. I don't know what kind of tzaddikus you are. It could be a big tzaddikus, and that's why the water doesn't work. Rav Shimon wouldn't think that that's to be a laws. But they're going to say maybe you're really mazana, and they're edim, and they're not coming forward. That's not shchiyah. That they should be edim and they didn't come forward. Edim, if right away is like not usual, they should be edim that she was mazana mamish. And also, if they are, they would have come forward. But they didn't come forward. That's already rachok. Rav Shimon is going to agree that this test does not work, and it's not going to be a laws on the women who drink and nothing happens to them, because that's going to be too far of a far-fetched thing. Does Rashi say that? Lo shchicha. Well, the maskin shad that meshadinu the toros b'achi. No one's going to say that. No one's going to think that she really is mazana and they didn't come. Before the Gemara didn't say that. Well, the shani le'el Rav Shimon v'deschus lo talu eidin namu lo talu. But once you have the pasuk, so the Gemara has to answer. Rav Shimon also agrees to it, and he's machal between schus and the edim of Medina Sayyam. Yashikol.
Okay, so tomorrow, maybe 10 o'clock, no?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Oh.